What is going on, everybody? This is another brilliant episode of Evan Ranks. Again, just no introduction needed. I am Evan. I always say this is going to be a fun one, so let's change it up and start this some different way. How, you ask? How about with our sponsor of the podcast? Here you go, Hunter Walker. Thank you to Walker's Home Services for being the proud supporter, proud sponsor of this podcast of Evan Ranks. We couldn't do it without you. Well, we could, but it wouldn't be as much fun, at least having this little line in there. So, thank you to Walker's Home Services and all that they do for us and everybody in Albemarle County and surrounding areas. Just bringing on in here. This is the first official podcast episode of 2024. Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you for getting us where we are today. I appreciate all the feedback and listenership. I don't know how you would say that, but thank you to everybody. I want to make sure I have enough time on this podcast because it is a fun one. It really is. This is one I didn't do too extensive research. I kind of wanted to freeball it a little bit. I not freeballing my britches. I have pants on. Don't worry about that. But freeball in terms of content, what I want to deliver to you. We're going to do another 1 through 5 ranking here. And that ranking is going to be my spirit animals. I've taken a couple quizzes, got some different results, got a very consistent one result, but then I have a couple of ones that I'd prefer to be and maybe kind of not, but yeah, I prefer to be. So 1 through 5. We're going to start it off with listing. Let's actually go through the line. I think that might make a little bit more sense here. We're going to start at 5. Let's start at 5. Let's do the fun one first. This one I knew I wanted to be on my list just solely because of the pain it brings humans. I think it's a fun one. I think I would be a deer. I think that'd be my number 5 ranking. I would love to be a white-tailed deer, preferably a male deer. You don't see too many of them get hit by vehicles, but I would love to be a deer for one reason and one reason only, and that is to cause so much trouble on the roads. Whether that means you got to slam on your brakes, whether it means I take off your mirror, give you a dent, crack your windshield. I want to cause the insurance industry turmoil and trouble. That's why I'm choosing a deer. Deer are all over the world. I mean, I'm not just subject to one part of the world. I could live in Maine. I could live in Virginia. I'm sure there are deer in Florida. And maybe not California, but who wants to live there? They're all over the world. So I'm not just subject to one place. Deer are also in zoos sometimes, but most frequently they're in the wild. I think, yes, you all might be sitting there thinking, like, Evan, you're literally being hunted by a ton of people. Mitch, you'd probably have a heyday if I were a deer running through the woods of West Virginia. But, like, the intensity, the chase of being a deer, the adrenaline of running through the woods, hoping I don't get shot with a bullet or a bow and arrow. I think it would just, it speaks a lot to who I am. I'm always here for the adrenaline. I'm here to do some crazy shit sometimes. I'm here to cause trouble, like with the vehicles and stuff. But at the same time, deer can kind of lay low. Sometimes you don't see them for a couple of weeks. Sometimes you see them all the time. Sometimes they're in your freaking backyard staring in your bedroom window. I don't do that, but to attest to what deer can do and where they are, I think I'm all over the place. I think a deer fits me pretty well, but it's not something I really want to be. I'm not, I don't have this hankering to be a deer, but I have a hankering to cause chaos, and deer are the most common animal to do so. I don't know of any other wild animal that causes so many problems than deer. I mean, for shits and gigs, I worked at State Farm, and I couldn't tell you how many claims I had from where people had hit deer. Shit, I've had the problem of a deer. Thank you, Tommy, for putting that door and mirror. Yeah, if y'all are curious why the Taurus has different colored mirrors, it's because a deer ran smack into the side of my car. I didn't hit the deer hit me. This is the kind of trouble deer can cause. You might not have asked for it, but they're here and they're causing trouble. But like, they're dumb too. Like, this deer, literally, I slowed down for him and then sped up, and it ran smack into the side of my car and took out my mirror. it was a sad day for the Taurus, but Taurus still lives. The deer still lives. It was a little bit in shock, but they get hit by the car, they get back up, and they keep running. I think that speaks a lot to my character as well. So, number 5 would be the white-tailed deer. I got some fun facts to keep this a little bit interesting for you all. Some fun facts about deer are that they are called bucks or sometimes called stags. So if you've ever had the red stag Jim Beam, it's got deer antlers on it. Male deer, also, this is the fun fact. So when they are younger, they get sort of a velvety uh, rack or an antler, if you will, but they shed their antlers. Deer also fight to try to take off antlers to show dominance and be that head honcho. So those are some fun facts about deer. Population wise, like I said, they're all over the place. Here's a really good one. Deer are really good swimmers. Who would have guessed that? I've never seen a deer swim, nor probably will I, but according to the internet, they're good swimmers. Moving on to my number 4 ranking. This is a ranking I think that could be interchangeable with the last one. It's going to be the sea lion. I struggled with this number 4 ranking. There's a lot of cool animals in the world. Like I said, I took a couple of tests. I got some different results. One of those results was a sea lion. For some reason, the internet thinks I'm a sea lion. So I took this test. It's from theanimalinYou.com. And some of the questions that I received on a couple different of these tests, but one was, what size are you? And I guess maybe this is the turning point of how I got 2 different results by changing the I'm average and I'm smaller than most, but sturdily built. I don't know if sturdily built is beer and cigarettes, but I guess that's the epitome of a sea lion, maybe. But that was one of those questions there, and it was a differentiate of being a sea lion and apparently a beaver. I feel like I'm more relatable to be the sea lion after reading both of the examples of what I am. But so the sea lion characteristics, and this is how it got to me. This is where I was like, okay, I have to put it in there. Enthusiastic, charming. Don't know what the word plucky means, but that, and then obstinate. Again, I'm gonna have to actually I'm gonna prove my dumbness here and look up what the word obstinate means. Stubbornly refusing to change one's opinion or chosen course of action. Okay, yeah, that is definitely me in a nutshell. Let's see here. They are amiable and enthusiastic. These charming pinnipeds, which I guess is the scientific name or their sort of category, are agile, sleek, and energetic with an eagerness of spirit that's irresistibly compelling. I mean, all of y'all can attest to that. I am irresistibly compelling to most. But another thing here for sea lions in the workplace, their smooth personalities are well suited to a wide range of, oh God, I didn't read this, sales positions. Whether selling real estate or motor vehicles, they are skillful, enthusiastic, and sincere. Keyword is sincere there. I'm a salesperson, but I am a sincere salesperson, similar to the sea lion. Let's see here, what else? Oh, God. Rubber ribs made from soft cartilage, so they're not built real strong. I guess hence me here. Some careers and hobbies that they say the sea lion would be in the performing arts. I think I could definitely be an actor. I mean, I have so many different, like, what's the word, accents I use. I think the one that I'm currently caught up on is "It's me, Mario. I'm talking about the Sea Lions on the podcast." That one is my current one, so I could definitely see myself being like Mario in the Mario Live movie or something crazy like that. Air traffic control seems a little advanced for me. A paramedic or a lifeguard, hence the swimming. I'm not the best swimmer, so I would take those out. But diving, fishing, or volleyball. So I think it does hit me a little bit here to where I'm like, okay, love and friendship. I don't think this speaks to who I am at all, but I'm going to read it for you just for the point of it being funny. The sea lion's sex life is a hoot. Although its ardor and enthusiasm can make a partner feel as though they are the only person in its life, it quickly becomes apparent that the sea lion feels the same way about many people. That is false. I do not feel that way. but it it's a hoot. Yeah, my yeah hoot. There you go. I won't dive too far into that, but you know, I did struggle putting the sea lion in this ranking just because I kind of couldn't see it. I think I'm a little bit more attractive than the sea lion. I don't like that they like flop, or like they flop around to like move. Like their mobility is really poor, and I feel like my mobility is not that poor. I like the idea of having hands in a way, like a monkey, opposable thumbs. Like I want to be able to do more than just walk on all fours or flop around for that matter. But I distinctly remember going back to SeaWorld with my family. SeaWorld in Florida. Yes, it's a sad place. I have not seen that documentary, but I know there's some tragedy that goes on there. That would have been something I could have included in the Zoos podcast. So we'll stick to my experience. I remember being, how old was I? Maybe like 8 or 9. I could have been 7. I was young. It was young Evan, and you could not take me away from the sea lion exhibit. There were little tiny sea lions, and they are just freaking adorable. They make a ton of noise. They're like, "Arr, arr, arr, arr." They're loud and obnoxious. So of course, me being that young individual who was probably loud and obnoxious was in love with watching these sea lions flop around. So I mean, I always have sort of had that connection, I guess, since a young age of being a sea lion. So it's only right that they're number 4 on my list. After doing this, I think I'm more relatable to a sea lion than a deer. But let's move into some of these fun facts about sea lions. So, this is specifically Australian sea lions. And some fun facts on Australian sea lions are that males are bachelors. They like their female stays in Australia, but they travel the seas all around the world, is what this says. Unlike the females who prefer to stick close to home, male Australian sea lions spend their lives traveling the ocean far and wide, searching for food and partners with which to mate. Some males seek out bachelor colonies where they congregate to live together during the non breeding season. So, I'm not that relatable there, but that's a fun fact. They are also the rarest sea lion in Australia. Let's see if I can't pull up some regular sea lion facts here for you guys. Let's do some 5. All right, so they're mammals. That's easy relationship there. There are multiple different types, and apparently the bigger the better for the sea lions. But they're very social, and I would say I'm pretty social as well. So the sea lions looking to maybe move up this ranking the farther I go into this podcast. But moving on for the point of it, I'm going to skip over number 3 because I took like 3 or 4 different animal within me personality, different websites. So I could, it wasn't just one me changing my answers. I answered different questions throughout different websites and platforms and tests. So the middle one at number 3, I'm going to skip over because I got this animal 3 times on 3 different tests. I'm going to move on to our number 1 and 2 rankings. Our number 2 ranking, which I feel like every male probably wants this to be their spirit animal, is a lion. I think the king of the jungle is just a cool title to have. I'd love to be the big man on campus. I used to have long, beautiful, luscious hair similar to a lion's mane. That was the time before the beard. I think it would look even better with the flow and the beard coming in now. But king of the jungle, I mean, when you go to the zoo, you always want to see the lion. The lion's the most desirable animal to see. They're threatening, they're terrifying to other animals, they're aggressive, they're just one of the purest, I think. Like when you think of an animal and you think of the qualifications of living in the wild, I think the lion is most suitable to survive in the wild. They are poached, but I feel like as a lion, if I were a lion, I would eat the crap out of someone trying to poach me. You are not getting me, man. But yeah, it's hard not to try to want to be this lion as well, especially when there's a children's movie called The Lion King. You grow to sort of have this appreciation toward lions. All of the animals in the animal kingdom bow down to them. It's sort of a heartwarming story. I feel like in most animal movies, I mean, we talked about what movie was that? Madagascar in one of the podcasts briefly, but Alex the lion. I mean, he's desirable, he's loved, he's beautiful. I think I fit a lot of the qualifications of being a lion, I would really like to see myself strive in the wild under those same circumstances. If there was like a machine to make you an animal, I think I would probably wake up tomorrow and be like, yeah, make me a lion in Africa. And if I survive, this will be my spirit animal. But I think it's a bit of a far stretch. I don't think I'm the alpha male that I'm sort of putting on that I have this much relationship with or correlation to, but I think it'd be pretty cool to be the king of the jungle. Like I said, they're feared by most. They're powerful, they're beautiful. I mean, they're also kind of lazy sometimes. I mean, if you ever been to the zoo, they're just kind of chilling around. But some videos that you see on the internet, they're trying to attack that child that's tapping on the glass. Like, that's me too. Like, bitch, stop knocking on the glass. I'm trying to sleep. So, number 2 ranking going to the lion. And then we're going to move on to the number 1 ranking here, in which I think it just makes the most sense. A gorilla. I mean, a gorilla is very similar to a lion, just enhanced human features. Intellectually, I'm probably at the same intellectual level as a gorilla. I don't see myself smarter than one, but I don't see them smarter than me. They're easily taught in a way. They are curious. I'm curious. They are, what's the word I'm looking for? Stubborn, I guess. Like, if you see the chimpanzees like throwing poop at people, they're smart enough to just know that that's going to tick you off. I know what ticks people off, and I'm willing to go to that extreme too. But the key thing here is, I mean, we're most similar. Our features are most similar to a gorilla. It's the most comparable animal in the animal kingdom to humans. Who doesn't want opposable thumbs if they're an animal? I think gorillas just fit the qualifications a lot more. Like, chimpanzees are loud, annoying. Gorillas are sort of humble, big. The silverback gorilla is beautiful. But the gorilla is just an overall high quality animal. They're underrated because they're not really talked about most. People just throw them in the primate qualification, call them a monkey, whatever. I've been called a monkey with these ears quite a bit amount of times. So I think I'm neglected as well, sort of in that. I have monkey ears, but I'm a human. A gorilla has monkey qualifications, but they're a gorilla. So easily relatable there. Want to get into a couple of fun facts here. Most gorillas actually are endangered. Silverback gorilla is probably the most endangered, but there's around 1,063. This is just about mountain gorillas. For some reason, the World Wildlife Fund only gives me facts on one specific species. So, I did it again. Species. But another fun fact is we share 98% DNA with gorillas. It's a lot of freaking DNA to be shared with a damn gorilla. I mean, that's like in the Goodnight. It's a Goodnight Moon, or the Zookeeper book, the children's book. It's a little monkey, I guess. It's not a gorilla, but we'll call him a gorilla. I think it might actually be a small gorilla. He's walking around, letting out all the animals, playing tricks on everybody. Like, that gorilla sleeps in the same bed as those zookeepers that night. He sneaks in there. A gorilla could be living in your attic. You don't know. They have very human tendencies. You might just think that's your son or daughter, but it's actually a gorilla living with you. So some crazy stuff there. But to get back into some of the fun facts is, let's see here. They live in family groups, which makes sense. But here's the one that's the kicker of why it's number 1. They can eat all day. I could definitely snack and eat all day. And they get real cozied up at night. Once I get into that bed, do not take me out of that bed. Very similar to a gorilla. You know what really got me excited about this podcast? I know it's got kind of nothing to do with it, and I still haven't gotten to my number 3 ranking, but dude, Zoo Tycoon, do y'all remember that game? I meant to talk about it in the Zoos podcast, but like, I remember being the zookeeper creating that zoo and it just being so much fun. And I think this is why this was so easy to talk about, because there were so many animals that I connected with while making my zoo. Like, you need to have this animal there. All of the needed animals that I have on this list were in my zoo. So just in that test to me. While we're talking about gorillas here, before I move on, we're going to give a shout out to Zoboomafoo. Zoboomafoo was one of the best shows. He is a lemur, but shout out to Zoboomafoo. Killer show. Part of the reason I'm super educated is probably because a lemur taught me how to learn. But moving on to our 3rd ranking, the most important here. Yes, it's not number 1. but it is the most important because that's what my test had said my spirit animal is. But my spirit animal at number 3, and I'll review these as I go back down, is a wolf. Y'all probably can see that. I used to actually have a wolf t-shirt. There was like a it was like when the book fair came around in elementary school, this lady like had a bunch of animal t-shirts, and I got like a glow in the dark wolf head or a wolf shirt. I feel like it just makes the most sense. There's also the comparison of, if you ever seen The Office, Dwight compares himself to the wolf. I think I could be, I always say I'm a Jim, but I probably very well could be a Dwight with this comparison of a wolf. Him and I are very similar in that regard. But I'm gonna read you sort of what this "You Are a Wolf" stands for. Good looking, athletic, decisive, passionate, and aggressive. Check, 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 check. I mean, it makes sense that I got this one for 14 different tests. But so the impressive wolf, the rugged wolf, is athletic, good looking, and brimming with self-confidence. Pretty self-confident guy. A close relative of the domestic dog, is stronger and more aggressive, managing to generate notoriety wherever it marks its territory. The wolf's dark reputation is mainly due to jealousy of its consistent success in work and romance. A wolf in full stride is quite impressive. A wolf remains loyalty. I'd say I'm a pretty loyal guy. All of y'all are friends with me, and I would most likely take a bullet for all of you. So a very loyal wolf right here for me. The wolf's personality career. Wolves are intensely ambitious and never shy from hard work. They're socially adept, and they function well in leadership and management roles. So I think this could be a pretty good fit. Some of the careers and hobbies that they had said are law enforcement, a soldier, medical field, trial lawyer, team sports, outdoor activities, another theater one, and then debating. If you've ever tried to debate with me, good fucking luck. Like talking to a brick wall. I mean, I can see a lot about a wolf within me. Wolves are pack animals as well. I'm a big one of the questions, and why I kind of look to this one for content here, is it asks about your sociability and sort of how you view your friendships and all that stuff. And I'm a very social person. I mean, like I I get FOMO even if two of y'all are going out to dinner. I'm like, fuck, I'm missing out. Like I need to be a part of that pack. And that's exactly how a wolf is. You don't see very many wolves solo doloing around. I mean, Kid Cudi solo dolo, ain't no wolf in that lyric. So I'm a big pack guy. I want to be a part of something. I don't necessarily need to be the leader at all, but I do have some leadership qualities. I did take leadership in college. I did take leadership in high school. I was a captain on the baseball team. I mean, it sort of fits there as well. I have lost that athletic edge, so I think that is a bit of a stretch for me to compare to in this analysis. But number 3 is a wolf. I mean, let's get into some fun facts about them as well. So they're pack animals. Wolves use dens for their young, so they find a little den, and that's where they have their offspring. Their offspring is with them for a little bit. It's sort of that I'm going to nurture you, and then you're on your own. I think that's how I'm going to be with my kid. Like I'll be nurturing, but like when you turn 18, buddy, like get after it. And then gray wolves communicate using vocalizations, scent marking, and body language. I'm a talker, guys. Wolves howl at the moon. They howl at each other. I'm always howling, yelling, doing something. So I think it just makes the most sense there. Um, let's do this. All right. So clear as day. Number 5 is going to be the deer. Number 4 is going to be the lion. Number 3 is going to be the gorilla. Number 2 is going to be the sea lion, and number 1 is going to be the wolf. That is Evan ranks his spirit animals. I think that is nail on. You hit the head on the hammer. You hit the whatever that saying is. I think that gets me perfectly. That's the perfect Evan ranks of his spirit animals. But yeah, that's going to be that ranking. We are going to get into this segment of Stranger of the Day. That's right, Stranger of the Day. Yeah. This is for yesterday. I was driving to Charlottesville for my sales meeting, And right before the Crozet exit, there's a rest stop in which a lot of 18-wheelers merge onto. And I'm just cruising. Like, I was struggling to keep my eyes open. It's been a while since I had to drive over the mountain for work. It was early in the morning. I haven't had my coffee yet. And I'm just groggy. I'm like trying to keep my eyes open, drive. I'm cruising in the slow line like a responsible person because I'm not going 85 miles an hour this morning on what is that, 64, whatever the case is. But there's this dumb bitch, like this 18-wheeler's trying to merge on there. They're in the lane, like they're in that regular lane. They're going about 12 miles an hour. Mind you, I'm going the speed limit of 70. But this woman speeds up and does not let me over. So the stranger of the day goes to that bitch that doesn't know how to drive. I sped up. I did not cut her off, but I sped up. I got in front of her and I went slow as hell so she couldn't pass me. That's how I feel about that situation. It's rewarding to give her stranger of the day because she's getting mentioned on my podcast. But if you ever see this woman in the black Acura, I don't know who it is. There's probably a lot of women that drive black Acuras, but whenever you see one, just give them the bird for me because stranger of the day goes to this absolute buffoon. Um, that's going to be it for the podcast. This was a super fun one to do. Really easy, kind of rolled off the tongue here. Timing wise, I'm going a little over than what I usually do, but this was a really fun one, guys. This podcast was, in fact, brought to you by Walker's Home Services for all your home service needs. Tune in if we have some good athletic events going on this week. You're going to get another sports episode this week. Otherwise, might take it easy for you all, but I also might be snowed in this weekend. So get ready for a crap ton of podcasting here and content to catch up on. If there's any questions or any topics that you guys have, please bring them to my attention. I am still in search of my second guest. It might be Hunter Walker. It might be our sponsor. We might just throw him on here for the extra publicity, but I'm looking for one of y'all to tune in and join the podcasting crew here for an episode. So please come with your inquiries. I thank you for tuning in, and I will see you all in the next one.